Hello, everyone. Welcome to Huobi Talk. My name is John, and I'll be your host today. Today we have two honored guests. The first one is Ross Zhang. He is the head of marketing with Huobi Group. Hello, Ross. Can you say hello to the audience?
Hi, hello, John. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here today.
Great. Thank you so much for being here today, Ross. And second, but not last, and definitely not least, Theodore. He is with the Newton Project. Just to give a little bit of brief introduction of Theodore Gray, he is the advisor for the Newton Project. He has amazing credentials, just like one of the leading figures in the development of Mathematica, the most advanced technical computing platform in the world. He worked with Steve Jobs in person and developed and presented some of the earliest educational iPad apps with Jobs on WWDC, wrote many award-winning books on chemistry and many translated into 30 languages. And he's also the founder of Press Created, the educational toys and the mechanical gifts, hacked an industrial-sized quilt machine for creating digital art. Welcome, Theodore Gray, to the AMA. Would you like to say hello? Thanks. Nice to meet you, Theodore Gray. So we're going to move on. Ross, could you tell us a little bit about your background at Huobi Group?
Oh, yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Ross. I'm the head of marketing for Huobi Group. So I used to be the CEO of Huobi Canada, and before I joined Huobi, I worked for Canada Pension Plan Investment Board, which is one of the largest financial institutions. And I started my career as a developer in the technology industry, and then I moved to the investment industry. So I know like both sides, and that's why I joined Huobi. I'm a big believer in blockchain and cryptocurrencies.
Great. Good background. Thanks so much for sharing. So first and foremost, we're going to have an AMA to talk to Ross first. We have lots of burning questions from the audience that actually submitted it on Twitter. The first question comes from a person by the name of CosmoFan and asks, what changes have happened since the initial launch of Huobi Prime? And what changes are you most excited about? Ross, I'll leave this to you.
Yeah. So for people who don't know the Huobi Prime yet, so Huobi Prime is a direct and convenient way for people to get early access to the premium tokens. And so it's basically, the project team and Huobi are working together to provide a discount for the users to access the emerging tokens. And, we recently will launch our first project, and now we're going to launch the second one with Newton. And, during the first launch, it was very popular, and we got lots of demand from the users. And also we got lots of feedback after our first launch. So like both positive and something negative. So we listened to all of it. So that's why we spend a lot of time on making those change and to make it more reasonable and to make it more fair to our larger audience. So here are the three biggest changes. So first, the change is we have the shorter trading rounds. So during the first launch, people found out, it's sold out like within 7 seconds, for example, and people need to wait another 29 minutes for the second round. So that's why we short the trading period to 10 minutes each for 3 rounds. And the second biggest change is we already announced the average daily holding of HT needs to be equal or greater than 500. So that 500 HT rule will be in fact for Prime 2 with Newton Project. So this is why we choose 500 HT is to balance between the users who want to spam the Huobi Prime and also to have access for the large audience and due to the overwhelming demand. And the third rule we change is for the last round, there will be a special community round. So in this round, all the participants will get at least some of the tokens they want. So I can talk about the details like in later questions. And if you are still new to Huobi Prime, or you want to figure out the details of accessing Huobi Prime, you can actually check out our blog at blog.hbg.com.
Great answer, Ross. I'm glad to have you on the show again. Just to retort, so three exciting changes. The first change was shorter trading rounds. The second was the 500 HT Huobi token rule is in effect. And the third and the most exciting change is the community round, where if you participate and you will get some kind of tokens, not sure exactly how many, but you will get something. That's really exciting. Moving on to the next question from Crypto King 11, exciting name here. He asked, when the third round is complete, will people be able to sell new? How long will it take for regular trading of new to start? So can you kind of give a little bit of information about the community round?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, so people can, people are able to both buy and sell Newton coin on Global with minimal delay, which means that, the trading starts right away. And, the regular trading, if you mean that, the free trading, so that will actually open after the 3 rounds of Prime. So for example, so we do have the tiered price limit for the Prime rounds, and after the Prime is over, what I call is a post Prime phase. The regular trading can start, but this time, because what we discovered from last round, because at the beginning of the regular trading, there will be like a huge demand and extreme market volatility. And so that's why, we place a 5 minutes price cap on the, 5 minutes after the regular trading starts. So that's actually, a way that, we want to avoid the market, extreme market volatility. But after that 5 minutes, people can start placing the market orders and also the limit orders. So during that 5 minutes time, people have restrictions on placing the market order. And also, they cannot place 5 times more than the price in terms of the limit order. Yeah.
That's a really great answer. So just to retort on that one, so you're saying you give a little 5 minute cool down period, so that way the market can actually price itself and it can go forward in a more natural way, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, because, people, after the Prime phase, people were still crazy about the tokens on Prime. So they may place the irrational orders. So that's why, that's one way that we want to protect the users who participate for the Prime.
Oh, great. That's amazing. I'm really excited about that. Talking about NU, which is the token that's on the Newton project, and kind of bringing it back over to Theodore Gray. One of the questions that was submitted was about NU and its benefits. Can you kind of talk about the benefits of NU and what you see as the best benefit within the ecosystem?
You're asking me, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think that the reason that I was interested in the Newton project and NU tokens in general is because, the Newton project is an attempt to actually solve real problems in the real world rather than just making up a new token. And the idea is to create an economic system, not just a token, but a whole system around it, which allows many people, including people who are not particularly interested in crypto technology for its own sake, to benefit from the decentralized economy that that the Newton project is building.
Great. Yeah. So you're saying it has to be decentralized, and also it has to appeal to the masses, right? You don't want it just be into the crypto industry and into the actual the actual niche of crypto. You want it to be appealing to the masses, right?
Yeah, there's a certain number of people in the world who are interested in anything to do with crypto technology and cryptocurrencies, and and that's great. It's a fine, thing to be interested in. But the huge majority of people in the world will always, really care more about their own businesses. They manufacture bicycles, or they're, farmers, or whatever it is that they do. That's their life, and they have problems. And if you can address those problems and provide solutions, for example, if you can make e-commerce more efficient, lower fees between buyers and sellers, that's something that has tremendously more potential than anything that you can do within the crypto world, because the whole world is much bigger than the crypto world.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Problems that are, in many cases, created by highly centralized, sort of profit-seeking private corporations that are acting as middlemen.
Sure.
And crypto technology and the sort of decentralized trading systems that are possible, have great potential to solve problems outside the crypto world. And I really like the fact that the Newton Project sort of puts that front and center as its goal.
Yep, I agree. Like the benefit is, being decentralized and appealing to masses. I really, really agree on that. So passing the back over to Ross, we have a question for you. One of the questions talked about the 30-day price, or actually the 30-day limit to hold HT. The question goes from IAIA 101. It says, there hasn't been 30 days between the launch, Ross, but the rules say that you must hold so much HT or Huobi tokens for at least 30 days. How can people participate if they don't have time to buy the HT? Do you expect them to have to increase the HT holdings in order to make the average requirement? Can you explain a little bit more about that, Ross, and about the HT requirement?
Yeah, so that's a fantastic question. Actually, I got that questions asked a lot. So because, why we have this rule is we want to value, our long-term HT holders, right? So for people like who already have, 500 HT, they can participate, right away. And for people who are still like new to Huobi Prime or Huobi Global, or they don't have enough Huobi token holdings, don't worry about that. You can still participate. However, because of this average daily holding of 500 HT, you may need to increase your daily holding. So for example, if you hold the HT like 10 days before the launch, and then, you probably need to hold like more than 500. So that's 1,500. So if you were just joining Huobi Global today, for example, you don't have any HT holdings. So as of April 13th, you need to purchase and hold 5,000 HT because, it's 3 days before the launch. So, in order to reduce all the confusions, we don't want the users to do the calculation. We actually have the holding calendar on our blog. So you can also check this holding calendar on blog.hbg.com. And we put the HT requirement in place this time for 2 reasons. So first is to help manage what could be, overwhelming demand for a limited supply of the coins. And second is to, as I mentioned, is to benefit our long-term users, both big and small, who have helped us, grow our ecosystem along the way. So, if holding more than or equal to 500 HT upfront is not possible for you as of now, so you may keep an eye on the future token launch.
Perfect. Good answer. So basically what you're saying is if you weren't able to have the 30-day price snapshot of the HT, you basically can just load up on a Huobi tokens. In order to participate, you need at least 500. But if you don't have the 500, the tool will actually do the math for you and tell you exactly how much you need to buy in order to participate, right?
Yeah, so you can check out the holdings calendar, and you will know exactly how much tokens you need to participate in Huobi Prime.
Great. All right, going forward to the next question, it says from CS2, how many tokens will I get if I place an order in the 3rd community round? Does this mean everyone gets tokens? How can I get tokens if all of them are gone? Can you explain the round more, the community round?
Oh yeah, definitely. So that's actually one of the biggest change that in terms of the rules for Prime for the second launch of Prime. So first of all, like the qualified users needs to be eligible for digital asset trading. I want to remind everyone that you need to comply with the local digital asset trading regulations. And if you are qualified, so every qualified user who participate in the third round should get at least the sum of the tokens based on the orders, right? So we actually have a formula to calculate that. So it's basically how much you place the order divided by the total amount of orders for the community round, and times the total circulation of Newton, and times 50%, because we give 50% of the Newton coins, of the circulation Newton coins to the community round. So actually that's the idea behind the community round. We would like everyone's to get at least the sum of the new coins. And how much you get depends on how many qualified like trades you are you place. And actually for different HT holdings, they have like different quota, like they have different purchasing quota, right? For example, if you hold 500 HT, exactly 500 HT, then you will get a quota for 400 USDT equivalent of HT, like for your quota. So you can only place the orders that's within that amount. So for the details, I don't want to cover like too much like details here. You can always check the blog.hbg.com and also check our Zendesk announcement. So they have the full table and the calculation formula.
Yep, I agree. Like one of the things I think was a big issue last time is that people were complaining that they didn't actually get tokens, but with this round, it solves that problem, right? So exactly. everyone who's talking about I didn't get tokens, well, this round is meant for you. We're actually listening to the customers and the people trading. We want to make sure that you can participate. It's really amazing.
Exactly.
The next question from TSU, it says, what will Huobi do to combat auto buying tools? Can you mention any auto buying tools that we have to make sure that bots don't buy any tokens?
Yeah, so that's another popular feedback we got from the first round. Actually, we did have the anti-bot and the anti phishing tools that we in place during the first round. There's actually a slider at the verification slider that we used to prevent the bots. And most of the people like got confused that what is this slider doing here? It kind of like slows me down. But actually, that's a mechanism that we have in place to prevent the bots. And of course, for the Prime Launch 2 with Newton, we also have this verification slider that that will prevent the bots, or the automated trading tools to get access before the regular users. So again, that is the system method that we place to make sure the Huobi Prime is fair and equitable for all the users.
Sure. So basically, they just use the slider as a mechanism to make sure that auto-bots aren't buying all the tokens and no one else can participate.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Some people got, some people are so used to the Google Captcha, and they, that's why they are confused by this slider. So it's that slider is similar to Google Captcha, but you don't need to type or anything. It's actually easier for the user to use.
Great. Yeah, I'm glad that's in place because we don't want bots buying all the tokens. You want all the community to buy the tokens, right?
Yeah.
Great. The last but not least question, it says from your one, it says, how often do you think Huobi Prime will launch projects? What do you think about that, Ross? Can you answer that?
Yeah, so the philosophy behind Huobi Prime is to launch premium projects, right? So you can tell there are not many premium projects right now. So, our goal is to launch a premium projects on a regular basis. However, there's no guarantee that, a certain period that will launch like a project like a 1, 2, 3. It's just, we spend a lot of time and effort with the project team, to screen them and to do the due diligence, and also to work with the project team to offer a better discount for the users. So that's why, all the good things take time. And Huobi Prime, is also targeting to launch regularly. So stay tuned with our latest updates on our social media, like Twitter.
Great. So yeah, like there's not a concrete schedule that anyone can look up exactly, but we're trying to do, maybe like it's up to the schedule. We'll let people know on Twitter, and you can follow us on Twitter on Huobi Global on our Twitter page, or follow you on at Ross_Zhang, right? So they can follow you on Twitter,
yes.
Right? Great.
Yeah.
All right, thanks so much for answering all those questions, Ross. We're going to turn it over to the Theodore Gray and the Newton project. Now,
actually, before all the audience questions, I'm just curious about. There's a vault behind Mr. Gray's bag.
Wow.
What's that for?
I have to keep all my Newtons somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's just that my studio happens to be in an old bank building, so the building where my studio is has this huge vault in it.
Okay.
Great. I actually like it a lot. Thanks for explaining that, Theodore. Mr. Gray, I have a lot of questions. People are really interested in knowing more about you and the Newton project. I'm going to go ahead and get to the point and go forward. As a popular science author, you created many award-winning books, especially in the area of chemistry, and created many educational toys. How do you see these intellectual content to be shared and sold in the area of blockchain? Do you plan to make your books and videos available to buy using blockchain or crypto wallets? Can you explain a little bit on that point?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that the important point here is that I'm somebody who makes things that other people want to buy sometimes, and I'm happy to sell them any way that anybody is willing to buy them. And that's the same with anybody who makes anything. If you make bicycles, you're happy to sell those bicycles to anyone who can pay you for them through any mechanism that you can use to distribute them. And really all you care about is what channels of distribution are the most convenient, have the lowest transaction fees, and solve the various problems of, trust, doing business at a distance. So if there's a marketplace based on Newton's, a new mall app, and I can sell things on there, of course I'm going to sell things on there. And so will anybody else who has things to sell, provided that it's a good marketplace. If it solves the standard problems that everyone has who has anything for sale, if it solves them and it does it in a better way with lower fees, and is convenient and doesn't have any sort of structural problems to it, then it's not really a big problem to get people to want to sell things on a new place. You just have to do it better than the old ways.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, so you just want to make sure that your products are available to a mass audience, a mass market, right? So that way you can actually have a good audience that wants to buy and sell, right?
Yeah, and whether it's crypto or not, I'm interested in the Newton project precisely because I think it can be interesting to people who are not interested in crypto things. As I said earlier, there's a great many people in the world who are never going to be interested in crypto technology for its own sake, but are interested in doing business and, selling things, having access to insurance and finance and, the whole sort of economic infrastructure, and who currently have problems because there's a centralized profit-seeking entity acting as the middleman. If you could decentralize that process and have, a self-organizing blockchain community that brings together buyers and sellers, and does it in a way where it, provides the trust and safety services at a lower cost, everyone is going to like that. That's, solving their problems in a better way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're basically saying you want like an e-commerce model where it's governance by itself. You don't have to have a middleman or have someone taking a little bit of cut out of the actual equation. You want it to be governed by itself. Moving on to what you talked about, e-commerce, there's an application called Newmall, right? And it has some kind of business model relevant to Newton. Can you kind of explain Newmall?
Yeah, so Newmall is meant to be an online e-commerce platform in which people buy and sell things. In other words, you want to buy shoes, you can buy shoes. In that sense, it's like any of the other online marketplace systems, except that its underlying technology is blockchain rather than somebody trying to make a lot of money off of that, off of the existence of that trading platform. The idea is that the activity it generates revenue, it solves people's problems, people pay fees to have their transactions processed, but all of that sort of feeds back into the community and supports the community in a self-organizing, blockchain decentralized way. And I think to many people outside the blockchain community, this sort of sounds unreasonable and unrealistic. But I think one only has to think of the sort of prototypical original example of this with Bitcoin, where you have huge numbers of people in the world all working together, putting huge amounts of effort into the operation of the Bitcoin community, and it's completely decentralized. There is no center. The actual center, the person who invented it, has evaporated into thin air, providing a beautiful metaphor of nothing in the middle, and yet all these people are working together. The problem is that the goal that they're working towards is wasting as much electricity as they possibly can, and that's sort of silly.
So you want to make it more efficient, decentralized, and better, right?
Yeah, I want to use the same mechanism. The Newton Project wants to use that same self-organizing mechanism that was invented with blockchain technology and focus it on solving real problems for real people, like how do we get goods back and forth, how do we get money to flow back and forth efficiently, frictionlessly, all over the world, right, without somebody in the middle trying to extract as much percentages of all those transactions as they possibly can. Perfect. Exploiting their monopoly positions, for example, to raise fees. Without that center, the whole process can be much more efficient, and everyone can benefit from that, rather than the benefit being concentrated in a very small private company.
Yep. Let's move on. I agree with that, man. You want to have like a model that actually benefits the people, right? The last question would be, do you see Newton Project being spread around the West, especially in the United States? What are the main advantages in the global marketplace, and what are its disadvantages? Can you compare it to a simple project in the West?
Yeah, so I think as far as comparisons with other projects, I don't like to compare it with other crypto projects. I think it's, what it should be compared to is with other ways of solving the fundamental problems of human existence. How do I eat? How do I trade to make money so that I can feed my family? That's the world in which it's playing. And that's a much, much bigger world than the crypto world. That's the whole world. As far as, how it spreads in the West, I think that, as with many things, I would look to the young people as the place where this will start. So, for example, I'm very near the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. We have many thousands of international students here who come from all over the world, and all of them, have many of the same sorts of problems. They come here, they want to have lunch. Well, what do you have to do that? You have to set up a U.S. bank account and get a credit card here, and it's incredibly primitive. The financial systems in the U.S., for example, are quite far behind. There is no WeChat, there's no Alipay here. The comparable systems are not widely used, and none of them have sort of free international flow of money. So I could imagine this sort of getting started with maybe students start to use Alipay, or not start to use Newton and the new Pay and the new Mall as a way of frictionlessly moving money around, doing business in the local community, and then other people see that and they get interested in it. They want to see how it works, and they recognize the convenience and the lower costs and the problems that the Newton token and the Newton sort of e-commerce and Newton economic model are solving for people.
Sure. So basically you're saying like the borderless payments is a big problem for international students. In order to transfer money to different countries, you have to pay a lot of fees. It's inadequate if banks are closed. There's a lot of problems that Newton new token solves if they use this token as opposed to banks.
It's inconvenient and there's high fees.
Yeah.
Same problem everywhere. And not just in buying lunch with foreign money, as it were. It's the same problem if you want to buy shoes. Inconvenient and high fees. When it's convenient, the fees are high, and where the fees are lower, it's inconvenient. And there hasn't really been a new idea in how to solve that problem in hundreds of years until the emergence of blockchain. And the blockchain concept of decentralized organization is very powerful. And once it starts to be applied systematically to solving not, how do we make a new cryptocurrency, but how do we get people's products back and forth across the world and get money back and forth across the world for all the people who are not interested in crypto and who just want to, live their life and sell their products and have their life. Yep. Once it becomes interesting to those people, the scale is astronomically bigger than the crypto community itself. I mean, it's the whole world. It's not the crypto world.
Yeah, I completely agree. We're running out of time, so I just have one last question, and I want to get to it as fast as possible. Can you talk about knowing Newton's founders' ties to the free software community, and how about Newton's governance model? Is it related to community growth strategy? Can you kind of elaborate on that really quickly? We have about 1 minute left.
Yeah, so governance is clearly a fundamentally important issue in crypto systems because ultimately it's people that make these things work. I think there's sometimes a bit of an idea in the crypto community that the algorithm, the consensus mechanism, will somehow factor out all the human failings that come into, and the algorithm will save us. But this is not how it works, and it's been proven over and over again with pretty much every crypto project that ultimately it comes down to how do you get people to work with each other and cooperate with each other and resolve conflicts and deal with bad actors. How do you get those human infrastructure systems to work efficiently and to deal with the problems that come up? And I've been an advocate for a while now of having what I call a constitutional convention for the Newton Project. I think the Newton Project is particularly open and aware of how things are done in the rest of the world, and it turns out that the question of how do you get groups of people to work with each other over very long spans of time, how do you set up human infrastructures, organizational systems that are robust against long spans of time, against bad actors, against changing priorities and changing circumstances. This is a problem that has been studied quite extensively in the world. There are experts in how do you do this.
I
all
agree.
of whom exist outside the crypto world, and I'm trying to sort of bring them together and join up. And what can we learn from the crypto world, and what can we learn from the governance world?
Perfect. Yeah. I hate to interrupt you, but we're basically out of time, Mr. Gray. I really appreciate you coming on the AMA here at Huobi Talk. So thank you so much for joining the broadcast, and we really are looking forward to the launch. And Ross Zhang, again, really privileged to have you on the show. Huobi Talk and AMA with Newton Project. It's just been a great show. And we look forward to the Newton launch actually on April 16th. To participate, you just go to hbg.com. And you can also follow us on Twitter at Huobi Global. And we're looking forward to the launch. Thank you guys so much for your time today. If there's anything else, you guys could say bye to the audience.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to all of you participants.
Yeah, thank you for listening. It's been a great pleasure to be here.
Thank you, guys. And you guys have a great day. I look forward to working with you guys in the future. Have a great day.